What's good, my gorillas? It's your boy, Trader Joe of the Fantasy Gorilla Show, founding member of the Fantasy Gorilla Universe, which is a network of fantasy football and fantasy baseball leagues that have some of the best players in the fantasy universe across two platforms. In football, the main platform is the Sleeper platform, but we also have some leagues on Fantrax as well. Big up to any owner that's a gorilla in the Fantasy Gorilla Universe. Really appreciate y'all taking part in the competition. Now, I wanted to share something that is on my heart about what the purpose of the Fantasy Gorilla Universe actually is. So, for too long, fantasy players, like the best fantasy players in the fantasy universe, have been laboring with zero kind of recognition whatsoever. The sport that we play is a real sport. If World Series of Poker is a real sport, fantasy sports is a real sport, especially fantasy football, fantasy baseball too as well. And what I wanted to do as kind of an influencer was to make the Fantasy Gorilla Universe all about a show for the players, a showcase for the actual fantasy players, not the players on the field. They get enough recognition. I'm talking about y'all, the gorillas who pay their entry fee and then rock against each other every league and every year in obscurity, and then win the championship, and nobody's making a big deal out of them. Everybody just hating on them, whatever, yeah, you got lucky or whatever the case may be, and you celebrating alone with your wife, or maybe your wife's even mad that she got the entry prize, but she lost 57 million hours of your presence while you're in your phone taking this serious. Look, what we're gonna do at the Fantasy Gorilla Universe is we're going to come up with power rankings where we're going to actually have across the 20-some leagues in Sleeper or whatnot, the best performing, the most dangerous fantasy players by the handle on Sleeper, and also the name and anything else that you, if you get selected, want listed there. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about fantasy strategy as it has been originated by owners. And that's a big thing. Everybody bites off each other's style, but nobody gets recognition. Nobody gets the source of, say, a fantasy auction strategy. Like my man Big Stan has developed a strategy where he waits to the end and just bull rushes the whole board with a whole bunch of money while everybody else has already spent their wad. And I just think that's not right. And I think that there's so much potential in fantasy for the players to really make a name for themselves. And, who knows where it could go? Why wouldn't ESPN or one of these major networks pick up something that focuses on the fantasy player? Ain't nobody doing that. And then why, as a fantasy player, we laboring so long in the darkness for what, an entry for a league pot? And that ain't worth it. Let's actually start treating this thing like a real sport. That's what we're going to do with the Fantasy Gorilla Universe. We're going to use the social media channels, especially the YouTube. We're going to relaunch the Fantasy Gorilla Show YouTube, not the Trader Joe YouTube, the personal one, but the Fantasy Gorilla Show YouTube. And that YouTube is going to be bent on talking about y'all and y'all competition as gorillas in the universe, duking it out for who's going to own the highlands or the lowlands or however it works out in the jungle. So get excited about that, because this has been a long time coming, and it's really kind of the heart of what the fantasy universe is. And of course, because it's something new, we're going to have to still go with the old. So we're going to do a lot of player highlights on the Fantasy Gorilla Universe YouTube, a lot of player highlights that we specifically like DK Metcalf, for example, somebody who's dropped a lot because he doesn't have the quarterback. But, who cares? He's still DK Metcalf, a cross between Randy Moss and Bo Jackson. Somebody that's going to run 4-2 down the field and chase down your fastest cornerback after an interception and throw him out of bounds like he's the football itself. Right? We like players like that. Big, strong, fast, talented. So we're going to have all of those kind of highlights. But it's mostly going to be about you. That's what I wanted to say. So if you have any questions or any suggestions on how we can best turn fantasy football into a sport, because that's what we're going to do, please inbox me. Otherwise, like, subscribe, do all the social media like stuff. And it's just been your boy, Trader Joe, the commish of the Fantasy Gorilla Show Universe. I really love y'all. Thanks for participating with me. Yeah.